Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Reality Realnesss with three S's. I'm your host, Chantele Francis, here with Kirkland from the Traitors Canada Season 2. He was just banished. Kirkland, how are you feeling? It's been a couple days. Has the pain worn off yet?
It stings. Yeah, of course. It was a fun game. I had a great time. I'm a huge fan of reality competition shows. So going into this, it was a dream come true for sure to get to play. And I've watched all the traders from around the world. So it was really fun to be a part of it. And watching things back, a lot of eye-opening moments, a lot of things where I thought they would play out that way. Actually, I feel it's very true to a lot what happened. So yeah,
So
sitting with a lot of different feelings.
you said that you were a fan beforehand. So then how did it feel? I'm not sure if your approach or like being asked to be involved in this season. So you were already a fan?
I was already a fan, absolutely. I think my love for sort of competition shows started with Big Brother quite a few years ago, and so I don't know when the Traders came around, it was something I started watching right away again, and I was like, yeah, I love this. This is great. Yeah, and then the opportunity presented itself. I mean, already, Gerline, she sort of led the path from farming to that. So I was like, ooh, my chances of getting here might be good. And
So
that-
fun. Yeah, no, I mean, I love competitive reality shows, and so I love when fans get to kind of live out a dream here. So did you want to play as a traitor or a faithful?
I mean, I think that it's funny, our cast, you hear it at one roundtable. Jasmine says, like, well, I think that everybody wanted to be a traitor. And it was like a consensus amongst our cast of all almost admitting, like, yeah, of course. Like, we all came in and said it. There was only, I think, a couple people that said they didn't. Given, like, in retrospect, being picked as a faithful was like great for me. I'm so happy that I was playing as a faithful. It's definitely more who I am as a player too, being able to trust my instincts and like play on that side of things. Plus, like, it was filming in the summer and I had another show going on. I had a lot going on, so I don't know if I needed to carry the burden of being a traitor as well.
So you mentioned that you're a fan of reality television. When you come to the manor, you see all the other guests. Did you recognize anybody?
Yeah, well, you hear me stupidly say it right off the bat. I look back, it was a long day, it was raining, everything. I think, like, why did I tell Netta I knew her? But yeah, I definitely knew Netta right away. And then Melinda from Drag Race. Cedric, I had watched part of his Amazing Race, maybe a bit. But I also knew his son. But once he told us he was from the Amazing Race, it was like all clicking. I'm like, oh yeah, for sure. I'd also watched wrestling like for years. So like there's Gail, but I think it was right at the end when she was joining wrestling when I was like not really watching it as much anymore. And then it clued in that I had watched her episode where she got eliminated first on the Amazing Race as well.
Right.
But
So yeah, you
yeah,
had seen her episode.
I had seen her, yes.
How'd you feel about the death row twist? We haven't really, I don't see something exactly like that in any of the other iterations. So what were your thoughts around that? And why didn't you step forward? I mean, I know the answer,
Oh, I was
but
not stepping forward. This is where me and Mary Jo's relationship started, was we were standing next to each other, just like, what are these people doing? And I think Netta was there too. And we're just like, I heard Rebecca say that it took a while on here. I'm like, that's a lie. I couldn't even blink. And there was 5 people standing up there. And I'm like, whoa. However, I will tell you that because of the death row twist, Kevin and Lauren, because I spent a lot of time with them and I could see their real fear of being murdered, it really cemented in my mind that they were faithfuls. I would have never thought they were a traitor because of this. Like, it couldn't have been a performance. It was like coming, like, Lauren was, you could see it in both their eyes. Like, Kevin's was getting a little fragile, Lauren too. And so I was like, okay, and one side of it, it worked for them in a little bit. But the risk, I don't know. For Chris, it did not work.
oh no, not at all, not at all. Definitely. I mean, I think that they were probably thinking that one of these people on death row are likely to be a traitor if you're just looking at who might be selected, and so maybe that's kind of what they were toying with. Like they might actually get to have better odds there, but
It
I don't know
happened
if I'd
so
be stepping
quick. I
forward.
don't know what they were thinking.
Now, seeing how the game has played out, would you prefer to have been a traitor this season, or are you happy that you were faithful in the end?
Oh, well, I mean, the faithfuls right now are playing just the worst game in faithful history. So I guess I would want to be a traitor for a better chance to win. I don't think, I love Netta's gameplay, like in Big Brother and everything. And I feel like I don't want to take anything away from the traitors, but I just feel like they don't have to do very much yet. I don't know if they need to strategize or do
They're
anything.
just like, there you go. I mean, even with this episode, all the people that anybody has sights on for banishment, none of them. I think there was 5 people that they were thinking could be a traitor, and none of them are a traitor. So I don't know how they're going to do.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Like, no one's working together. No one wanted to bring up names. No one. See, there's just no unity at all. And like that's the game of traders. It's different from other games in that sense where like you're winning as a team. So if you don't have that sense in you of being able to work together and like I don't know. It's like everybody didn't get picked as a traitor, and they're like, I'm going to show you why you picked wrong." Yeah, I can
Well,
be
it's like
selfish.
with them not being able to banish a traitor here, none of them are going to get a chance to even be recruited. It seems at this on this path.
That part too, you've got to get recruited, and you've got to get if that's what their hope is. It's obviously working with the traders it is a tactic as well. Like I had a big suspicion on Netta the whole time, and I would throw her name out to find out like who's watched Big Brother, who knows that like when Netta says, oh, everybody's too loud at the table and I'm too quiet, so I just can't get my voice heard, and I'm like, girl,
We know if you
please.
wanted to talk, you could talk,
Yeah,
but
I heard her one time. I'm such a bad actress. I'm just, it's like all these big personalities and I can't deal. And I'm like in a car with her, like, okay.
she's like, "Do you know that I know that you're lying right now?"
Yeah, yeah. So, but I really liked Netta and like I wasn't pushing her name out for sure. And but so there is that side of things, but at this point, like I feel like one trader needed to be found, and we needed to really quiet down. You hear like people coming for Cedric being the distraction, but he wasn't in terms of I don't know, Trana to me is the biggest distraction in that house right now.
Well, for sure, and you see, in your face that you were really deflated with how Trana and Melinda were both kind of coming for you, and you weren't anything that you were saying to defend yourself. It seems like it was just being shut down or being taken as proof that you are a traitor. So, how were you actually feeling in those moments when you're just like screaming from the inside, like I'm faithful, and everything you're doing is just proving the other way.
Yeah, it was really like me and Trana were super close. So we were like partners in the Mind Challenge. We're in cars together all the time. And then Trana wants to play, and to this day, she wants to play that she was just dumb and has no idea what was going on. And I'm like, I actually give her way more credit as a hardcore game player, and she doesn't
Mm.
want to admit it. And I'm like, no, I know. You see that conversation with her and Netta where she's like, I'm afraid of getting murdered. Because there's this real feeling in there where you're just like, I'm gonna get murdered. Like you gotta like somehow get a little suspicion, do something, get your name out there a little bit. And I see that, and I think that's when she switched and decided, well, I don't believe she ever thought I was a traitor. And she decided to frame me. Yes. That's
Oh,
where, and I'm
that's
like,
heartbreaking. Especially,
yeah,
we do see at the end, her saying that, "Hey, I don't think that this person is a traitor, but nobody else put out any other names, so I have to go this way."
that
So
part.
yeah.
And why it stings quite a bit is why I think it was a bit personal with me is she decided to really like come from my character and who I was in order to frame. And I even saw her after I'm banished. There's this really funny clip of like Kira and Netta trying to figure out how they're gonna do the handshake. And you see Trana sitting down, like, he's a gaslighter, and da 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 da. And there's this like zoom out by the editor of like Netta not listening. I'm like, my God, she's going to try and vote for me in the next banishment, and I'm not even there. But it just continued on, and I was a bit like, okay. And so that's where I'm just like, you don't need to try and like attack my character. But it was hard because everybody in that room believed I was a traitor. That no one was saying anyone else's name, but what they were saying was, yeah, but Kirkland's not the traitor. You see it at Aaron at breakfast. You see Mike say it. You see Gail say it. You see
Mhm.
Kevin saying it's Michael John, but that's going nowhere. And same with me. I rode in the car with Michael John twice that day. I really opened up to him and really spoke about like where I came from and what I represent. But unfortunately, he was a traitor, so
He's gonna
he
jump
gets
on
to play.
that.
He gets to play that game. I'm a sitting duck, and he's like, "I've got you isolated. Good thing you're opening up to me and no one else." And well, Lori was in the car, but so like that's where it ended up happening is because Melinda in the same way where I don't believe she thought I was a traitor, and she's playing more of the game that Tran is claiming to play in my mind. Like Melinda, she wasn't really talking a lot. She was like rehearsing her speeches and wanted to just like be Melinda.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, she decided, well, I'm gonna do this to Kirkland. And
Oh.
and that's where I was like, well, I'm here to play a game, and it is what it is. But that's where she approached the game at. And then so I got their two votes, and then I caught the traitors' votes. And Cedric, who I understand why he thought his name was on the chopping block, so he's gonna vote for me, and that makes sense.
Well, do you think that there was any way to save yourself with how the numbers kind of broke down? Like you mentioned there was a few people, Aaron and Gail and some others that were no, yeah, and Kevin were like, no, he's not a traitor. And then you had some people that are only voting for you because they didn't know who else to vote for. So do you think that looking back now that there could have been a name that you could have gotten all those people to maybe go towards to be able to save yourself in that round table?
It was so tough because nobody that day, everyone was terrified to speak up, and no one wanted to catch like I mean, Trana was on a tear, and if anybody spoke up, you saw it at the round table. She was like, "Please speak up," and then someone would speak up.
She's
She
like,
was like, "No, no, 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 Kirkland, listen, no, 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 no." So like they were terrified, and then at the end, she says like, "None of you spoke up," but she spent the whole round table shutting everybody up. So it was tough because so everyone kept like their mouth shut about who they were voting for that day. Like I was in a car with Lori. I never knew she was going to vote for Cedric. The only person that kind of tipped me off that day when I look back is actually Netta in a car. She like floated Cedric's name by me, but I really didn't believe Cedric was a traitor. And so I was sort of like, nah, I don't think so. And I didn't go that way, but I would have went that way. I probably would have not voted for Mike ever. And he did get like the 4 votes or whatever. But no, it was really tough. If I no one had really spoke to me about Michael John a lot, and that would have been the name if I had thought about
hmm.
that. And I could have jumped on him when he called me a traitor. I could have led that. That's my only looking back because like I had opened up to him and Lori was there, and I could have said, "Okay, can you expand on that a little bit more?" And
Instead of just
maybe it would
taking
have went
it.
somewhere. Yeah.
Well, because we do see Mike has his suspicions about Michael John, and yes, it was being shut down by a lot of other people. But maybe that if you had kind of put your influence and your personal history with
Mm.
him, you might have been able to push that direction. But you wouldn't maybe have considered pushing Cedric, like knowing that he's probably faithful. You didn't want to save yourself and throw him on the bus, essentially.
Oh no, if I had known that other people were about to do that, like if I knew that Lori and Lauren were doing that, like Lauren at that round table asked me who I was going for, and I had been pushing Melinda all day long, and I got Nick to vote for her, but that's about it. And um I didn't know that Cedric was going to get these votes because no one was speaking. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, are they just going to let Trina have her way and vote me out at this point because no one's telling me anything? So I didn't know. I would have. I would, for sure would have. I did it with kind of not really with Mary Jo. Mary Jo came for me, and I literally I was like, she must be a traitor. These last
But you should have
moments.
been exonerated after we found out that she was not. How do you feel about the knowing look that is you're being held accountable for?
Well, no one bought it. You see, like everyone's like, well, he just survived banishment, Trana. Like, you even hear people say it. It really didn't hold any weight. And like, you hear Lauren bring it up after I'm banished, and I'm like, yeah, right. You didn't even believe it either. You're just telling how to save face with Cedric right now because you just voted for him. It really didn't hold very much weight, that look. Like, when I went into that roundtable, I will tell, I talked to every person that day. Like, they weren't voting for me. So it was just that I got the traitors. And Pac Man was sort of, he was sitting next to Kira, and whatever she sort of did, he did. So that's where I got his vote.
So, looking back at your game and your experience, was there anything that you learned about yourself and maybe something that you might have learned if you were ever to play again?
Yeah, I mean, I think I went in, because I was really attached to these sort of games and thought that everybody would be in the same sort of mindset, but realizing everybody, especially when there's a mix of like reality people, and not that everybody's going to have different approaches to wanting to play a game and where their motivations are at. And so, assuming like, people didn't want to do alliances, all this sort of things, and I have to realize playing with the cast you're dealt is so
Mm.
important. And I was dealt an interesting one so far, but I would
I
have
mean,
kept
that's
my cards close for sure.
great advice, though.
Yeah,
Play with the cards you're dealt. I know a lot of
yeah.
super fans go into these shows having an idea of what kind of game they're going to play and then not really taking into account who they're playing with. But if you were to come back now and you are a traitor, same cast, who would you want to be in the conclave with?
In the conclave, uh, I would love to keep Michael John there for sure because I think he'd be easy to throw in front of the bus at some point. I mean, I would have loved to have actually done it with Mary Jo. That would be fun. But I mean, I love that Netta's in there. I just wouldn't trust her if I had known she was in there with me. But yeah, I don't know. Mary Jo and Michael John would be great
Oh, that
for
would
a
be
winning game.
very
Yeah,
fun, very fun.
yeah.
And if you're at the end, you and Mary Jo will say, and you're the final two traders, and you have to choose whether you're going to split or steal the money. What would you do?
With Mary Jo, I mean, I think this game. You really think that like going in, you would do all these things, but you build these real relationships with people, and by the end of it, I don't, I would have split up with Mary Jo for sure,
What
hundred
if she, what if
percent. I
she,
would
what
have.
if she didn't? Ah!
Well, I would just marry Jo. I mean, that's a risk that you kind of take, but I had a lot of trust in her. Obviously, she did try to throw me under the bus at one moment, but I don't know. It would be a different thing once you're there at the end. Yeah.
So would you ever play again if you were asked to? Would you play another
Oh,
version of this game or?
100% I would. Yeah, it would be so fun. I feel like I had so much unfinished business with how this game played out for me. I would want to be a faithful again.
Faithful again? And why is that?
I think, people say that like unless you're a trader, you get to like that's the only way to experience the whole side of the game, but it's not really true because as a faithful, you don't get to experience being a faithful, hunting and figuring things out and learning about your instincts and self and this whole other side. And so I don't know, I really sit well in those things and I'd probably ask to be a faithful.
How do you feel that your fellow faithfuls here are going to be doing throughout the rest of the season? Do you think is there hope for them?
No, right now they're doomed for sure. If they can't start working together and not just allowing, yeah, basically Trana to just speak for them, you've got to get your own voice and have strength behind that because some of the biggest voices have left the show already, and that's a trader's game where these people that are trying to work really rational and like losing Enoch, even losing like Mary Jo, me now, I feel they're gonna want to keep people maybe like Trana around for a while because why
Mhm.
not keep Cedric around? If the faithful, there is a little bit of sense of needing to get rid of those voices as faithfuls and being like, well, like just you got to go. And I don't know if they're going to do that because everyone knows Tran is a faithful. I think like I was pretty certain she's a. I know I say it in my like revealing thing. It's so funny people take those so seriously, but like I walk out of my banishment, they're like, "Who's a traitor?" And I'm like, Melinda, Tran, Jasmine, and Pac-Man, the four people who voted for me. You know, like or that ruined me. Jasmine didn't even vote for me. Actually, I'll say. Yeah, I got her convinced even. But I don't know. Yeah, it's I feel like they're not playing to their strengths. If you're playing a kind of sneaky game as faithfuls, you don't trust anybody at the end. It gives the traitors an upper hand.
And how do you feel about the challenges? Like, were you someone that enjoyed these challenges? Making money for the team. Was that taking into account when people were looking at keeping people or banishing people? Like, how did you feel about them?
You know, in our cast, it really did. Like the money aspect was really important. Like everyone was so mad at the Trojan horse challenge because
Mm.
the answers weren't making sense. And I know the traders, even to this day, they're being like, "We weren't trying to sabotage you," but I'm like, "Well, in a way, by protecting yourselves from these questions, you were because they didn't add up." But
They
people
didn't add up for us either. For me
yeah,
either. Anyways, I'm
they
like,
didn't
oh.
add up. Well,
Hmm.
one, like Mike's the least trustworthy, but then it's like who will never make it to the finale, and it wasn't Mike. I'm like, how? Come on, that was an easy layup there. But yeah, so it did weigh in, and also like I think these challenges are really good because they really impact the game. They're questions about the game, and they make you think, and they're almost evidence to who's a traitor. Like I had that opportunity when they're like, "Oh, there's a power up for grabs," and immediately I knew, like, I was like, "I am playing this competition." Like I pushed my way through, and then when I heard what the how to obtain that power and that I would have had to lie and get away with a lie when I was already like under the microscope. I was like, nope, I will be telling the truth and I'll make it so obvious I am truthful and good here. And I think that was the right move. I probably earned more than one vote by doing that too, which was the power.
Hmm. So you don't think
Um,
the extra vote would have helped you in any sort of way this roundtable?
No, because I think if I had shown how good of a liar I was, can you imagine what Trana would have said? Like,
Yes, 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 yes. You're just like, you know what? I'm just gonna go easy on myself here, and I'll get the $2,000 for the group.
it's totally. So that came into play, and that's great because you got to see people. I mean, I don't know about I when I watch it because I didn't get to see. I was out of the room. I think I would have had more strength by sitting in that audience and watching that because I would have watched Cedric and Nick, and I don't believe Nick to this day. Love you, Nick, but I think you went for that power.
Yeah, oh, and he's like, "Oh no."
still, he says it, and I'm like, mm-mm.
I mean, when I was watching, I didn't necessarily believe his response to, not being able to get it right. So,
He's moving around. What Lauren said. She says it in her confessional. Like he had the same body language as Kirkland. Like you were faking it. Your body was faking it. So that tells me you were trying to fake
trying
it.
to do
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah,
And especially with him getting kind of upset about the fact that he wasn't going to be able to speak first in the roundtable, and so
yeah.
I think he might have been trying to, show himself in a different light here, and then also have some protection. So
For
I can
sure.
agree with you there for sure.
Yeah, I would have probably pushed for like we were always talking about the quiet people as well. So he was someone that I might have started to be like, no, 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 like look at Nick. But he was voting with me that night, so I might have not either.
And
Yeah,
was there any like thoughts around like the potential sibling twist here? Like, was that something that with the fact that you had that question last episode where it was like some people are not telling the truth about who they are or whatnot? Did
yeah.
that ever come into the equation with your
It
thoughts
was
and
just
discussion?
too hard to really do, you know? It's like we did, like you see me in the car literally say like someone's related, and that's where my head went because we've seen that in the past with like the UK versions. And it's just I mean, we could have lined everybody up and started looking. And I guess a lot of people say like it's in their eyes. I mean, they're both like these fitness people, but Kira was never saying YouTube. Had she said YouTube, we might have started to
Mm,
click a little bit. But looking back, they were never near each other, never seen talking to each other. Yeah, so it's sort of just a crapshoot. You're like, you two are related. You're this or that. Like, yeah.
yeah. No, no, nothing was telling. Well, I have a few rapid fire questions. So just
Oh
maybe
yeah.
just throw a name to whoever pops into your mind when I say most manipulative player,
Trana.
most annoying.
Trana.
Oh, no. Shots fired officially. Who's the loudest player?
Cedric.
Funniest?
Also Cedric. He is funny.
Which player would you like to invite to dinner?
Um, well, I mean, Mary Jo, for
Mary
sure.
Jo.
Yeah.
Most opinionated?
Um, I mean, I guess Trana again.
Maybe which player would make the best spy?
Best spy. Netta.
Who would be the worst traitor ever? Doesn't necessarily have to be who is the traitor right now.
Melinda.
She really wanted to be a traitor, actually.
I
That's
know,
funny.
but I don't think so. Looking back, yeah.
And lastly, who would you say is the most trustworthy player in hindsight?
Mike.
Mike. I do have a soft spot for Mike for sure.
Definitely. I love Mike.
Well, it's been amazing talking with you. Is there anything else about your game and your experience that you want to share with me and everybody else watching?
You just, it's a really fun game. If everybody, you ever get the opportunity to play, go do it. It's once in a lifetime experience. And just thank you to CTV, Bell, Entourage, all of them. It's been just such I don't know, I've had a wild ride this last year of my life. It's been quite life changing. And, it's been fun. And here we are at the other side and looking forward to what's next.
Well, it was super fun watching you play. I was really devastated that you went out because, like, we knew how much you wanted to be there and that you were such a faithful. And I'm sorry that your journey ended here, but I know that we're going to see you again. So thank you for coming and hanging out for a little bit.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Cheers. Take care.
Bye bye.